never would have had the lawsuits of People versus the U.S. Army, Fort Bragg, People versus Lorillard. All these are landmark lawsuits that came about because of the NAACP. You need to realize that in order for us to achieve, you got to put your back to the problem. I'm quite often reminded of that old story that they say when they talk about the fact that in years past, how Jeremiah, back in the days of Jeremiah, he cried out to his people, "Is there not a balm in Gilead?" But because we put our shoulders to the plow, we had to work from can't see to can't see. Not can to king, to king to king. Till one day, hundreds of years later, we now are able to say that there is a balm in Gilead because of hard work. But I think that it's unfortunate now that we have become very complacent with where we are. We don't have any more lawsuits going on, not because the change has been made. We have more segregation now within our integrated school systems. All of the black kids are getting out at 12 and 1 o'clock to go work as hard as in McDonald's, and the white folks are taking trigonometry, geometry, and calculus in the afternoons. But you're happy because your children are getting out of school. They're cutting the budgets of four-year colleges and expanding the budgets of community colleges so that our kids can't go, won't go to four-year colleges. All they want them to do is get a trailer, get an SUV, and hit the streets. And they're in a pattern of failure for life. The city council persons, I'm glad that they are here because this is Martin Luther King's Day. But they can come over here on other days and they can see that the Kimball community is behind times. You have streets up here that are not as large as my driveway. Nothing has been changed. You have buildings that still exist here that were here when my uncle left Albemarle in 1973. And if you think that the people should be happy, then you, like that, are speaking your revolution. You know, it's a matter of people realizing that the theys and the thems, they're not invisible people. It hardens and saddens me because I keep up with what's happening in Kingville because my family still owns a large amount of land here. People in Albemarle have basically been good for our family, and we, in turn, have tried to help many of them. Help many of them go to college this year who might not have had that opportunity before. Put hundreds of thousands of dollars back into this community. And it's sad to me when I read in the paper that the drug and gang violence is on the rise in this community. This is not something that the new police chief can handle by himself. He has to have your help. He has to have your support. You have to be vigilant about what goes on in this community. This community does not disappear when you go to your new communities and your new homes where you live and you're satisfied to abandon the Kingville community. These are not things that you want to hear, but it doesn't really matter. Because as I told Bishop Richardson, when you're 6'3", been practicing law 40-some odd years, just judge, you can about say what you want to say. I was speaking in Charlotte the other day, and I told them that it's a sad state of affairs if you think otherwise. In Mecklenburg County last year, they spent over $18 million fighting teenage pregnancy programs, which was twice the amount of money that they spent in park and recreation, twice the amount of money that they spent in libraries in the African American community. So that's an indication to me that premarital sex has become casual entertainment in our community. Right? What are we doing about that? If this building opens up one day and then have a premarital sex counseling session, then Mayor, they need to close the doors. If they don't have other programmatic measures that need to be said, statements that need to be said, then you need to close the doors. If you are not counting on the Kingville community to help you and the other city council persons get elected, then this community needs to wake up because it's sleeping through a revolution. I think it's critically important that the NAACP in this county needs to have an agenda. You need to do an assessment of this community. You're the Union Chapel, that's a church of long history. A lot of folks have left Union Chapel to become bishops in the A.M.E. Zion churches. I sat on the board of Livingstone, even though Reverend, I'm a devout Episcopalian. I saw the Episcopal priests back there, they all live church. Wait, raise your hand, stand up. I was the first Dr. A.M.E. Zion and the first Dr. Livingstonian to sit on that board. I did over $18 million in loans for them to help them get themselves financially straightened out. But one of the things that I recommended to Livingstone College when I went on that board is that you need to do an assessment. So as Justice Jackson said, you can know and find out who you are, really. Dexter, you, Bishop Horn, Reverend Horn need to work hand in hand to do an assessment for this community. You know, your family, Jasper, was my uncle's one of his strongest supporters. You need to ask yourself, in spite of whatever it is that you do for this community, would Jasper be proud if he walked in this room today? Lord, I'm where I am. And in this assessment to this community, the county, the city, they have community development block grant money, they have all different kinds of money. You need to get the Golden Leaf Foundation to start dumping money in this community, just like they're dumping money in communities all over North Carolina. They need to match these companies that want to come in and do employment training, in order for this neighborhood to grow. If you don't think that that's needed, then you're sleeping your revolution. The ministers in this county, you have a moral responsibility. You have a moral responsibility to do more than stand up in the pulpit from 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on Sunday to 1 or 2 o'clock. Pass the collective plate around. You have a moral obligation to feed the hungry, to dress the poor, to have training programs. Your church needs to be worn out. It ought to be opened up every day, worn out in need of repair. Because people have one Lord, and that's to the entity that helped them last.